And we're live. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, everybody, to 40K Frontiers, episode 13, Breaking the Ice. With us today, we've got the Triumvirate? That's the one. We got Mr. Towse. How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, keeping on. Just living my best life, something like that. Yep. And we got Ben. Ben's muted.
Mr. Fourth Place.
I mean, yeah. See, the joke was ruined, right? Wasn't it? So
yeah. You're meant to be the fourth member.
Yeah, that's right. For this, another enthusiastic self-introduction by Towse there. Well done, mate. Always bringing the energy.
Oh, I had half a plan, and then Sam finished his bit slightly quicker than I expected, and I'm like, oh yeah, I meant to say things. Whoops. I don't know how I'm doing. I went climbing just before recording, so I'm tired and sore. That's how I'm doing. But it was good. Yeah.
As alluded to, unfortunately, Korean Alice couldn't make it with us today, but hopefully he'll join us very soon. And yeah, myself, so Sam here. So on this show today, we got a little bit of a event recap. Funnily enough, we got a lot of events to cover. So starting off with Battle in the Bush, Ratcon, Roll for Damage, Uni Games, which Towse hosted. Then we're going to give a little highlight about some upcoming events, including the New Zealand Team Champs, which are happening this weekend or the weekend after, the WA Team Champs, and then the Northern Alliance Open. So, and then as well, stuck in the middle, we got an interview with Jokull and Heiðar from Team Iceland. So looking forward to listening to that. So, but before we get stuck into everything, so Mr. Towse, how you doing? What's been happening?
Didn't I cover that? Oh no, that was just how I'm doing. Now it's what's been happening. Right. So yeah, I ran my event finally, and I knocked it out of the park. It was great. Everyone basically had positive feedback, and that's all to say. The biggest, when I was like, hey guys, feedback please, the biggest thing was print score sheets. So I can do that. That just came somewhere below get less than a round time's worth of sleep for the night, because I was I still got to load the car, and oh yeah, turns out if you decide that you're going to provide a couple of armies for players, and then one of the armies you're not finished, so you're frantically you're running an event, but still I managed to need to paint things the night before. Not one of my finest decisions, but it was cool. Yeah,
it sounds like you had
the train worked great.
Yeah, it sounds like you had the true tournament experience. But painting the army the night before the event, of course.
It was so good. I had just the right amount of sleep deprived as a buzz to get me through the day. And yeah, I made template things. So how supposedly GW has for their open, the things to put down to arrange the plexiglass plates. I made some things like that have got because I've modeled the terrain and the tables to get them laser cut, and then I was like, well, let's model how I'm going to arrange the terrain, and then I can make laser cut things that I put down, and it's locating bits on my tables, and so the terrain can be millimeter set before each game, and then people be monkeys and knock it around and just make a mess. It's fine. So that's all right. First tangent on stuff in my event. I did that. One of the armies I provided for that is the one I'm going to take to NZTC. So we've had list lock for that, and starting to grind practice games. I wrote myself notes. I should read those. They would help. But yeah, things like that. And no, that's mostly. Booked my travel for Adelaide. So yeah. I haven't booked my return flight, the flight home from NZTC though, which is in week and a half. I should do that. That's probably going to cost me more money than it should. Whoops. But I'm making plans to catch up with friends while I'm up north. So yeah,
it's fine. It's fine.
It'll be fine. All that's going to happen is it'll be more expensive, and I'll be sad, but deal with it. How about yourself, Sam? We'll go the other way because Ben can't ever get second, so we need to leave him till later. How's things been going with you?
Yeah, things have been.
God, it got me real deep, that one.
Yeah, things have been pretty good. Very busy. Just life has just been insane this past week and a half. Just getting everything sorted, and then done, but it's been good. Ran an event this past weekend, so it was a smaller event. We only had 12 people for an RTT, or 13 people, because it was Father's Day here in Australia. So shout out to all the fathers. So hope you had a good Sunday, good weekend. And yeah, then also had the first league night for a 2K league on Tuesday. So we had 17 people show up, so it was really good. So I was hosting all that, and then just everything between all that, getting prepared for Victorian Team Champs in beginning of October and another event. So yeah, just plugging away, really. So but it's been good. It's been good. Looking forward to playing some more games of 40K, and also recorded my first bit rep, so that was pretty good. Obviously, always technical difficulties, but we got there. So hopefully, should be releasing that relatively soon. So yeah.
Did you have the camera recording, Sam?
I did have the camera
Lens
recording.
cap off.
We made sure.
Yep.
Yes,
you weren't running like a 2,160 point list. Shout out to Innes.
Well, I haven't fact checked my opponent's list, but I'm pretty sure he's okay.
You ticked all the boxes. You're set, mate.
Happy days. How about you, Mr. Way? How you been doing, buddy?
I've been good, mate. I've been good. I played at Battle in the Bush, which we'll cover later, last weekend, so that was fun. And I'm going to TNAO, the Northside Alliance Open up in Brisbane this weekend, so I'm really excited for that. Good morning from Washington. Good morning. So that's going to be great fun. Just giving up, and I've got another event at the end of the month. It's CruitCon as well, which will be really exciting. That's a local one in New South Wales, so first year, so it'll be really exciting. So I haven't actually practiced the list I'm taking this weekend at all, but have generally been playing a lot of 40K, so that's good. Been hobbing up some demons. I've got loads of Gribblies, but I just don't have any of the big ones, so I've actually been looking forward to building a few of those and getting them in. Just to need a bit of a palate cleanser, but I'm sure we'll touch on that later. But looking for I always like some demons, and they look fun at least. So yeah, it's going to be good.
What big Gribblies are you going for? What?
Well, I don't know. Because I've literally got none of them. I've sold. I've had a couple of great unclean ones, but sold them. So I think I'm probably honestly it might be a bloodthirster. I still like the keepers of secrets. They seem okay. But I think it's a medium-sized one seems to be where it's at. I think the mediums and the smalls. I still think the smalls are real good.
Demon princes rather than greater demons.
No, I don't think demon princes are any good at all.
Okay. Do they still exist? I assume.
Yeah, they do, but they're just the CSM ones are so much better. So
yeah. I hear though in the webway that Benny Way has been touched by Slanesh. He's looking after some fiends.
I am looking after some fiends. That's my Zeech demon prince.
Beautiful, love it. Birdman himself.
Yeah, I do actually think. I know it's an unpopular thought by a lot of people. I think Slanesh looks actually all right. So I'm gonna just have a little play around with that. I don't really have much Slanesh though. That's the problem. So it's very much a case of that needs the most hobby to get anywhere near close to doing it. So yeah, but anyway, still good fun. It's good fun to be thinking of schemes and stuff like that. So
hell yeah, dude.
Yeah, it's good.
It is always fun preparing an army scheme, and
it is,
yeah. Imagining what it may look like and preparing the basing and stuff like that, and just visualizing what it looks like. Oh, it's the best. It's so much.
Yeah,
fun.
I'm looking forward to it. I've been speaking to my friend in New Zealand, who I speak to quite a lot, Carl. Shout out to Carl. And he's been helping me dream up some schemes and stuff like that. So legend.
Nice.
But if you want to maybe get some, here we go, random segue. If you want to get some chaos tips or maybe some human hobby advice, consider joining the Best in Tabletop Patreon. So www.patreon.com/Best in Tabletop, or you can just join the YouTube Premium service. So down below, you can just join. It's for $15 a month. You get both YouTube Premium and the Discord, or either or for $10 a month. So consider joining. Help support us. Help support the crew and everyone else that does a show on the Best in Tabletop Network. And if the Discord or YouTube isn't your thing, buy some merch. We got some merch, and some of the proceeds from that merch go to us. So, yeah. And if you have any questions for us, let us know. Happy to help. So, going on to our main topics. You go?
I was going to say, you can ask Sam advice on how to just subtly slip in plugs like that there.
The best in the network. I'll claim it.
Yeah.
No one else will, so I'll do it. Nah, too easy. So in recent events in Australia and New Zealand, we had Battle in the Bush. So Benny Way, you attended that one. So it was in Orange, New South Wales, and it was a good event. So this is like the couple of years it's been running for now. Battle in the Bush, and it was taken out by Bugs. So we had the Duke man, Michael Duke, taking out. He came first place, undefeated, and then a very own Canberra boy, Rowan Kennett, taking out come second place, who was also running Bugs, and both various varieties. And so I understand, Benny, you did an interview with those two on your own, very own podcast down the 40K.
Yeah, we did, and it was great to hear from them. What was I don't know if it was worrying or refreshing to see two very different lists. I think it's probably a bit of both. But yeah, it was just good fun talking to them about it. Obviously, being a new player myself and getting amongst talking with them was always great. And we live like relatively near each other in Australian terms too. So that's really interesting, like in kind of localized people talking about NIDs, hopefully, might be of use to someone. So it was good fun. It was very self-indulgent, just talking about NIDs. So it was great.
Yeah, sure. So if you want to hear more about that, there'll be a link to it in the description below. And there'll also be an interview portion of Ben Yeomans, who was the TO for the event. But also then, Heiðar, we would be remiss to say, came third place with Custodes. So running, was it a 20-plus Sagittarium?
Yeah, I think it was like 23. Yeah, like I think I remember saying to him, because he ran it at the RTT. I went with him to the week before, and I travelled down with Heiðar, and I know him really well. And I was saying to him how interesting his list was because it's so different. And I think that the Sagittarium actually have a really, really good game into a lot of the meta at the moment. So, which was great to see. Like, and they just put out so many shots, right? Like, especially if you get within 15 inches of them.
I don't know if it's...
You go.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, maybe it's not quite so much that they put out so many shots, but it's like they... Like heading on twos, was he running them as emissaries? So they're just like always hitting on twos?
No, he went
okay.
Emperors, yeah.
Right. But yeah,
mortal wounds are a thing, right? So
yep, they definitely are. But yeah. Because it's like not so much how many, but they're just heading so reliably, and yeah.
Yeah. That's right. They're really good.
Yeah.
He seems to overperform with Custodes quite a lot, Hayden. So, not overperform because I still think they're good, but he's very much a faction expert with them.
Yeah.
So he actually won the last battle in the bush with Custodes, and that was in their peak. So that was in, I want to say, maybe February this year.
Yeah, it was just before Team Champs.
It was, wasn't it?
Tear, absolute tear.
He did, and he won. Like, he was winning some of my RTTs. He was, so he was well versed, and every nerf he carried on playing them. Everyone around him was dropping them, and he's like, "This is the only army I own." so he's just, kept on going with him and kept on putting up big results. So you've always got to look out for him.
Absolutely. But also this weekend we had another big event in Australia in Ratcon 2022. So it was a unique sort of event. So had some unique missions and some fun playstyles. And we interviewed the lads, so Michael Hamilton and Lachlan, who ran Ratcon. So it was a massive event in Victoria. So if you want to go back and listen to them, you can hear more about what Ratcon's about there. And we had the Australians from the WTC take him out. So with Jeremy Martino with his Not Bloody Rose sisters. So yes, Not Bloody Rose. He had Valorous Heart sisters with acroflagellants, just because he can.
No, they weren't Valorous. They were Martyred Lady, right?
Martyred Lady, apologies. Apologies.
Blame me for that. I said it wrong pre-show. That can be my fault. But I caught it this time. So yeah.
And then we had Matt Morrissey taking out second place with his Druk. So still holding on to them. And then we had Boyd Morale with Iron Warriors coming out third. So shout out to those lads. And yeah, it sounded like an amazing event. They hosted a good event down there. So yeah.
Cool.
And then, but now we would be remiss to mention that Mr. Towse hosted Uni Games. So you touched on it a little bit there. So good event overall. Who took it out?
John with his bugs. There's roll for damage in the show notes as well, Sam. There's even more events.
There is more events. There's too many.
It's like so many events.
Yeah. And then, So Roll for Damage was also a GT held in South Australia, not this weekend, or not this past weekend, the weekend prior. Adam Napier took that out with Creations of Bile, so shout out to them, and it was also a great event. So, yeah.
Cool. So that's all
Happy
the stuff
days.
that happened. Now what's next? Stuff that's coming
Now
up.
all the
And
stuff
then
that's
like
coming
we'll
up.
dive a bit more into a few of them, yeah?
That's it. So we have New Zealand team champs. So Mr. Towse, I don't know you're preparing for that. You might not have a return flight home, but you're preparing for it, right?
I got some practice getting tabled by Levy Warriors today. But John, my teammate, has guns, so that was tough. But if there's less guns, I think maybe it will be better. Hopefully. But yeah, I had a few practice games. Well, yeah, all that fun stuff.
What are you taking to teams, Towse?
I'm gonna deploy 13 war dogs on the line and run at people like an idiot.
Okay.
Let's go.
Yeah, nice.
Because the general thinking was there's, against most things, a lower limit to how badly that can score, because you just run the stuff forward, it doesn't die too quick, and you do all right in primary. Except you do that against Leviathan Warriors, you run them forward, each warrior brick's going to charge like 3 knights, kill all 3 of them each, and guns will kill things, and you'll just be like real sad as your stuff dies in 2 turns. So yeah, instead I scored slightly more points and died in 4 turns. Yeah.
And that's what this the weekend of the 17th to 18th of September. So the weekend after this.
Yeah, so not the weekend coming up, the one afterwards. That sounds worryingly close, but also I think that's how it works.
That is how time is supposed to work, I guess.
I was literally about to say that. That is correct. Well done.
Yeah. Yeah, so that
sounds exciting, mate. Sounds exciting.
Yeah,
how are you hoping to go? How are you hoping to go at teams?
So like we've got. I don't know if we've got any expectation, but we're definitely like going to potentially take it out, or like aiming for the podium type sort of thing. Like we've got a pretty solid contingent. We maybe can quite get all of the local players we might have liked, but we've got a solid 4 that I'm going to consider from Christchurch, because so Alex Cameron has moved up north somewhere, but is playing for us because, he's a local at heart. And we've got another guy from up north that one of our teammates knows. But yeah, I think it's pretty good. We've got like a reasonably solid set of factions and players and competencies on it. So yeah, feeling pretty solid. It's interesting seeing some of the lists. There's a few things a little unexpected, like the Tilted and Salty guys have got some interesting skew. They have one list is 150 boys, 20 grots, 3 pain boys to give them feel no pains, and there's also 30 commandos, 3 and 10, and like 2 cheap HQs.
Nice.
Tim the Sorcerer asks in the chat how many teams. There are 14 teams of 5, so 70 player event. So yeah, the one that happened earlier in the year that was from last year delayed and COVID shenanigans was 50 players, so 10 teams of 5 it ended up firing at, because there were drops and illnesses and wrangling and splitting up and joining of teams. But yeah, so like that was one of the skew lists. That same team had like 50, give or take 10 Incursors and Black Templars alongside 3 Warsuits, just like they're flipping coins on the go first thing, deploy, infiltrating and doing it. One of the 5 missions is abandoned sanctuaries, so that's kind of funny.
Find out.
There's some clown boat lists, some various other things. I got stat check in the channel. Neat. Teams should be good.
Happy days. Well, best of luck to that one, and we'll be sure to cover that in the future. And then also this weekend, as well as the Northern Side Alliance Open, we have the WA Team Champs. So another big teams event. So it's, I think, the 7th annual event in the state of WA. So in Western Australia, so it's, as it may allude to, all the way in the Western Australia, so near Perth. So held by the Objective Secured group. So and little hint, we'll be talking to Emma and Michael Bass hopefully this next episode about how this whole event went. But there'll be some big names going there. So the Mad Doc Hackett himself, and there's a bunch of teams going. They're a big, large 5-man team event. So if you want to look at some teams lists, that'll be the place to go.
Teams.
Hell yeah. But the main focus of the show, and what Benny Way is travelling himself to, is the Northside Alliance Open, held in the beautiful state of Queensland. So, and it's a massive event with I think over 2K worth of prizes in Australian dollars, plus everything else. So, big
Standing
event.
next to a podium near you.
That's right. We can talk about prizes all we like, but we know that I won't be going anywhere near them. So, but yeah, no, that kind of took me back. The price support's crazy, but it's gonna be good. I think this is the first big event, Brisbane, kind of Queensland's had maybe this year. I want to say, I haven't heard of any others.
Yeah, there's been some smaller. Yeah, sorry, there's been some smaller
ones. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's pretty exciting, and obviously there's a few familiar names going. There's a couple of the guys who aren't going to WA for the normal blokes, and there's also Eric's going as well. So that should be really fun. There's actually a couple of people going locally from where I am too, so I won't be the only New South Wales boy there. So that'll be good. I think I'm just looking forward to. I think this year I've been to pretty much most states, but a couple. I've been to Vic, South Australia, and now it'll be Queensland to play 40K. So doing a bit of a east side of Australia tour. So looking forward to that.
Nice.
Hell
be a good
yeah.
time. My camera's dead. Neat.
Oh no. All right. Well, then speaking of big events, Benny Way, you released your own down in the 40K major, so happening April next year, so not too distant future, but also in one day.
Yeah, I think it was an hour and 15, hour and 20 or something like that. It was sold out. So we had a Patreon, so we released a little bit for some pre-sale, which honestly I thought would get 5 or 6, and we did 15, the full complement basically. So it was pretty good. So it only started with 85 tickets. We might be able to extend it 10, but we'll see how we go. But yeah, we're really excited. Feels like ages since we ran our GT, which was only in February, but really, yeah, it's just going to be great fun. So looking forward to it. It's going to be big. We've got a lot to do for it. So that's why we've kind of announced it all now and set it up all now. So we can concentrate on we'll have to get more terrain. We've got a lot of terrain, but we don't have enough to do 100, not at the level we want to do it. So yeah, we got some work to do. But yeah, anyway, that's what it's all about, right? So
we consider player place, they'll solve it, right?
There's definitely been we've kind of sorted where we're at the moment, and we have thought about that, but that's not happening, I don't think, at this stage. So yeah, we're looking into other alternatives. So
fair enough. Live viewers, you'll be coming out shortly, but we'll have an interview now. Heiðar and Jokull from Team Iceland talk about the WTC experience and all things 40K Iceland. Talk to you soon. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to 40K Frontiers. With us today, we've got the beautiful duo from Iceland. We got Jokull. Hey. And then we got Heiðar as well, so captain of Team Iceland. How you boys doing?
Not bad, yeah. How about you?
Tickety-boo. Better now you're both here. So guys, we just wanted to talk to you guys about Team Iceland and get to know you. Obviously, a bit of a remote part of the world. Normally hear them about being the world's strongest men in the world, and then want to see if maybe Hafjord Bjornsson has joined the team as well, but maybe we'll find out a bit more. So we'll start with you, Heiðar. So Heiðar, how did you get into 40K and how long have you been playing for?
Wow, it's probably just some in a newspaper when I was a child, and I've been stuck in there since. It's probably started at 13, 14, gathering models and such, and now we are 12 years later, and I'm going out seas way too many times to say on record for my parents to hear, my family.
Yeah.
How about you, Jokull? How long have you been playing for?
So I did chess for a very long time, but I eventually got bored with the lack of variation, so I was looking for something different, and I had some friends doing 40K, and that was definitely an interesting transition. I went from that to esports, and then I'm back to 40K. That's how it is.
Yeah. What esports were you interested in?
I did StarCraft full time for 2 years, and Hearthstone for 2 years.
Oh yeah, nice.
Very classic games for sure. Does it mean you're a big Space Marine fan, being a Terran fanboy, or Tyranid Zerg player, or?
So I was all in on Zerg, and I play Tyranid currently, yes, in 40K.
Oh,
induction.
There you go.
For like 2 weeks now. So it's yeah.
If you played Hearthstone, surely you must be like you just buy the most recent meta army, right? The most powerful card in that game being the credit card.
Oh,
The one? Man after Sam's own heart. Popping between factions.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. So, guys, we're going to talk a little bit more about Iceland. So, in terms of Iceland 40K, how many sort of total players are there, like in the community? Is there a big community? Obviously, Iceland's not the biggest island in the world, but I wanted to know: is there a big 40K community there, or?
So we're the size of England in terms of geography, but not in terms of 40K players. But we
Sure.
had a 24-man tournament the other day, and we have a GT coming up in October. We're looking to get 32, but we've got very consistent monthly tournaments with 14 to 16 people. It's always sold out, and we're looking to find bigger housing. That's how it is currently.
Is it just an issue in terms of like space, trying to find space? And I assume is this like all near Reykjavik, or is this all spread out through Iceland? And you have tournaments.
So I'm very happy to tell you that there are warmer communities in remote places in Iceland. Like literally like 300-person towns. They had a 6 or 8 man event the other day.
Oh,
like
sweet!
Just fantastic, and people are flying into Reykjavik and like traveling a whole day to come to events. It's such a nice, positive community. But most of it is in Reykjavik currently,
Yeah,
that's really cool.
Yeah, what's it seem like? Is it normally like all like a crusade, sort of open play, or a bit more like a narrative-based play, or is it all very tournament-based and like singles events? Like, what's sort of the balance normally? Like, what's most of the scene about? Is it like,
So we have like 1,500 people out of 350,000 in the Warhammer group, but I mean, most of them just paint for fun and maybe do a game or two. There's an active crusade community at our local store, but then there's also more casual 40K players. But in terms of tournaments, it's mostly pretty competitive, and definitely a core group of people that really takes it seriously and travels a lot and is involved.
Yeah, sure. And is it all like singles events, or is it mostly team events you play? It sounds like a lot of the RTTs and stuff are like singles events, and then sometimes when you travel, there might be team events.
So we were talking about team events the other day. We want to do more of those, but mostly been singles so far. 2,000 points competitive. That's how it is. Yeah,
sure. Sweet. And so how much sort of travel is involved going from event to event? So you talked about some people in remote communities travel and fly into Reykjavik. Is that pretty like standard, or is it normal? Most people like live in and around Reykjavik, and they sort of can easily travel. Maybe Heiðar, is it? You can answer.
Yeah, sure. Reykjavik and neighbor is probably like 200 to 250,000 people. Reykjavik neighbor, and then the rest of the country of the 350,000 are out abroad.
Yeah, sure.
We are usually holding like 40, 60 men RTTs here at my apartment these days, and I think we usually get at least 1 or 2 are flying from either Akureyri or driving like 8 hours from Höfn. So yeah, it's mostly local, like real local, but we have also small communities out in the country.
Yeah, wow.
This is not standard at all. Like before in 5th edition, before esports, when I was playing, you wouldn't hear of it. Like people actually traveling to go to Reykjavik to play. So that's just fantastic.
Yeah, wow. So people drive 8 hours for an RTT to play. Absolute mad lads. Absolute mad lads. That's amazing. I mean, we live in Australia. Like, obviously, we normally used to travel a little bit, but for an RTT, 8 hours, absolute savages. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, we are also us that live in Reykjavik. We're really spoiled that I don't think anyone that lives in Reykjavik and nearby is more than like 15 minutes at maximum driving to my place, and then we have 50 minutes maximum for most guys, and then some guys take one car, 3-4 guys, 8-hour drive, spend the night. Yeah.
And so the guys from the East Fjords that have been coming to the event, they come to 3 or 4 events now. Like I've driven to the East Fjords. I did an overnight on the way. Like you want to drive 8 hours, you have to do about 150 kilometers. Like, but they somehow make it happen and just make a weekend in Reykjavik out of it. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. That's awesome. So is there much... So do you guys tend to also fly? So obviously, Iceland's on the island, per se. Do you guys get to travel internationally? Do you sort of fly out for to other neighbouring countries at all to play in events at all? Or is it pretty common to sort of interact with neighbouring countries? Or is it normally you all keeping like a silo until like the bigger major events?
I feel like we go as a group a lot to England. To the SAC is running the LGT, and I think the LGT is part of Warhammer tournaments in UK.
Just insert British city name and then GT at the end, and that.
Yes,
one of them, right?
Those, yes. We usually go It does depend. Sometimes we have to bail, but we usually are 3 to 6. More like 5, 6 guys at each of the big tournaments in London.
But now coming up for the LGT, we have 9 people going next month, and I'm really excited about all 9 going. But we could.
Yeah, that's sweet.
That's cool. Do you guys make a nice event of it? Do you keep a tight knit community, like focus, like accommodation at similar places, that sort of thing?
Yeah, we have a great guy, John King. Shout out to John King. He is our designated Airbnb controller, and he just sends me how much I owe him, and then I arrive and go to the Airbnb that he has rented out for all of us guys. It's always great.
Oh, yeah. Every community needs one person like that. They're the best.
Yeah.
I'm normally the person that sort of does organize that, and I've joined for an event in the next year. Like someone's already done that for us. It is so nice having someone who organises, who wants to Airbnb, books it and pays for it, to tell you how much it is and where it is, etc. It's amazing.
He's also quite an expert at the Uber Eats and all of those. So he always takes the Airbnbs, and then we go home, and it's always like, John, I know you have figured out what we're going to eat, so we're going to eat it when. And he always pulls through. So it's quite nice to have a person like that on the team.
And also the only person of us to podium last year at the Super Major. So that's he's a very good player himself.
Just making everyone else look bad.
Yeah.
That's how it is, yeah.
Yeah, what excuse do you guys now have? Come on. Oh, that's fantastic. So since 9th edition's come out and COVID and all that jazz, has 40K seen a massive growth in Iceland, or has it sort of stayed the same? What's sort of been happening?
So we're kind of facing that our local game store here was worried about COVID, understandably, and they were following the guidelines to the utmost degree, sometimes even going further, and that's very understandable. But we're looking at not having anything happen for maybe indefinitely at the time. So we bought terrain and tables and painted and we got actually physical tables set up and got events going. So we've actually continued with our events throughout COVID and continued traveling to events. So it's been very consistent.
Yeah, sweet. So the community helped fund that terrain set and paint it all and stuff like that. So when you were able to go back and play in person more, all the terrain and everything was already set up for people.
We have a 3-4 guys community, 3 or 4 people community that holds the tournaments. and we put out money to get the terrain, and we put it together and paint it, and then we just guys pitch in when we hold the tournaments, and that goes into a fund that we use to buy more tournaments and buy more terrain. Terrain and also tables and such. So
like use events to fund events, that sort of thing.
Yes.
Absolutely. I mean, it's been helpful. Like, we have been going into events, having played incredible amounts of games when people have maybe done one event, maybe in Lappland at the time, or maybe one event in Nephilim. But it's been really, I think, helping us for sure, having this consistency throughout.
I mean, if you've got like, did you say 15,000 out of your 300,000 population, like playing game, or like in your 40k group, like that's pretty incredible. I guess the level of involvement, at least, or interest.
Yeah,
1,500 out of it, 0.5% of the country. That's how it is.
Yeah. In the Warhammer Iceland group, but inside of that, there's like couple of person just are there, but a lot of person are painting, and a lot of person are actually in tournaments, and in tournaments and in painting, and we can set it up like saying we are 350,000. USA is like 350 million, so. When we are holding like a 14-man RTT here in Iceland, that is the equivalent and as holding a 14,000-man RTT in USA. If you put the population.
Just start like a petition to change super major status to be percentage of population. You better look, yes. Iceland has the biggest tournaments in the world.
Yes.
Everyone starts traveling to Reykjavik instead of LVO. Like, who needs that stuff? Exactly. Too funny. That's awesome. Yeah, it's also you got such a tight-knit community, like such a relatively popular community as well. So, when you talked about terrain there before, what sort of terrain do you generally try and use? Is it the WTC style of stuff that you're trying to move towards, or I guess the UK TC stuff?
So it's been just kind of a group of guys, Heiðar and I, and two other people, just decided what terrain we feel is the best to play on, and that is undoubtedly the London UKTC terrain. As fantastic as some of the other terrain is, I mean, it's sturdy, it's competitive, it's balanced, it's just fantastic. Also easy to paint.
Yeah. Is it also like at a fair price? I'm sure that could be a big deciding point if you're buying it out of your own pocket.
We are getting murdered on shipping and VAT here. That's how it is. But we've had some of it shipped to the UK, and it's been brought when people are coming here for the GTs and stuff.
We definitely try to use every trip we go to tournament. Some people just get it sent to a hotel, and then we pick it up back home. The shipping cost and the taxes.
Yeah.
But
I
would definitely say that our tournaments, like I say, we decided to go after the UK tournament scene standards, and we're just using their missions. Thanks for that, Zach. And our terrain is great, and boards. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic. It just helps grow the community and foster the community. When you have good terrain, good people and stuff like that, it just grows and grows and grows. So, and help give everyone the best chance to play. So you talked about there, so you get hit with massive VAT taxes and stuff like that in shipping stuff in. What are some other challenges to collecting 40k in Iceland? Is it really hard to get stuff? I guess you only have the one LGS or local gaming store in Reykjavik. Are there other challenges you have?
So it is kind of the opposite, actually. Like, the euro is extremely cheap for us. The pound and the dollar, at least mainly the pound and the euro, are just so cheap for us right now. So, I mean, comparatively going to this event, it's been so cheap compared to everything in Iceland, because everything in Iceland is very expensive, but everything abroad seems to be much cheaper. And I mean, it's fairly easy to get the DW range, and we have a great company called In Tabletop, which is very good at custom making stuff you need. So if you need weapons or guns or something that's not available, they can get it to you. So we had a Chaos Knight army which needed warp claws with no time to go, and he just got it sorted, like 3 days before, shipped it out, and we got it just in time for the WTC. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and we also, like you say, we only have a single store, but that store somehow way back got to be part of the British circle, the British store circle. So they are always stuck to the roof, and they can always get everything except the direct orders, of course. But they are great. They have been doing great, and I still have not seen any going to a lot of countries, going to a lot of stores, and even Games Workshop stores, and I still haven't seen any box being cheaper outside of the country than here. So they're very fair with the price also.
Happy days. There we go.
That is very weird for an Icelandic store to be cheaper in Iceland than abroad.
Yeah,
I must have like
when in Domitus the box set came out and no one could get it. Like Nexus, the local store, they got a suspicious amount. I think it may have been just the minimum for a country.
And nobody tell anyone about that.
How many did you buy, Heiðar? How many did you buy?
5.
Solid. Yeah, I don't know if I believe the minimum for a country thing, because the other Alex that's part of our podcast in Korea said that they had like, I don't know if it was as low as 2 Nephilim books in all of Korea, but it was some crazy small number. So
I think we got. I am pretty sure that we got 100 the first time. Then we got more after the second wave. But the second wave did stick around in the store for way too long. But yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. So you is it Nexus, the local gaming store?
Yeah.
Yes. So it obviously talked about local gaming store. It was like, I guess you can host events and play events out and collect stuff from, and you play events from your house, Heiðar. But is there any other areas you sort of play events at? Like, is there like a hall you hire out for bigger GTs and events, or it's all at the LGS and Heiðar's apartment or Heiðar's house?
We used to have a ice cream store just near to me where we were holding RTTs, but then I personally decided that it was easier for me to just take all the terrain from my basement to my apartment than going way back and forth. And I remember the guys in Akureyri out in the country, they had like a 10-man like a 500-point RTT the other day. And you can maybe tell us a little bit more about when you were getting for the GT.
Yeah, and Akureyri, for those who don't know, is around 20,000 people in the north of Iceland, biggest outside of Reykjavik, but not a lot of people live there. But so we're currently holding a GT in October, and we have rented a place called Iðnó. It's by the lake, middle of downtown. It's probably one of the most beautiful buildings in Iceland, and it's going to be just such a fun event. Have a lot of people coming to it. Yeah.
Fantastic. And how big is the GT supposed to be?
So we have ambition to make it bigger next year, but we think we're looking at least a solid 32 people.
I personally very much looking for next year. I mean, we're going for 32 people now, and I have a dream that is way bigger than the other people's dream in the group. That next year we're going to hold like a real GT, but way too many numbers and also we have the capacity, and after the experience we can do it. And I think a lot of people in Europe and maybe some of the guys in USA would want to come because we have the best spot in Reykjavik. It's smack downtown. If anyone has come to Iceland, it's just like you would say, downtown by the lake, where you know where the lake is downtown, and you have all the hotels, you have all the bars. So if you finish the tournament and then you walk out, go behind the house, and then you are in the party street in Iceland. And then also you can just take your kids with you and go to the tournament and throw them out, and they can go do whatever they want because Iceland is that kind of place. So yeah, it's going to be a perfect place for everyone.
You need to market it that way and then hire your Airbnb guy to be like, yeah, and talk to this guy who'll hook you up with the accommodation. Everyone come along.
So we had people fly in for the GT now in May that we were holding. And I mean, the thing about Iceland, it's a small place. So we called a guy who just works in a hotel booking company, and he just he got them a suite-ish that was being cleaned or something. So there was like no towels or something, but it was a low capacity. They got it for like next to nothing, and I think the entire thing was just so cheap for them as well. I mean, we went to the Manchester GT, and our airfare back and forth from Iceland was like £100. So it must be the other way around as well for the UK. So fingers crossed. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's pretty reasonable overall. So like £100 being like $200 Australian, like 150 USD, I'm imagining. So pretty reasonable for return airfares, and like that's fantastic. So it's not too bad to fly over.
Yeah, we are always traveling to UK. I mean, we are going to London, and we go to a lot of terms. London, Manchester, Bristol. The Bristol was actually a trip, but going to Coventry and going to London, going to Manchester, it's just, we are in Reykjavik. It's a half-hour drive to the airport to like 2.5 hour air trip. So that was the trip in total. Yeah, also, with the time that you spend in the airport doing nothing is maybe 4.5, 5 hours. So it's no trip at all, really.
Yeah, wow.
That's
cool.
That's wild. Like, I spend more than that flying between. Like, I think it costs me more flying between where I am, the second biggest city in New Zealand, to Auckland, the largest, like, for a round trip for an event. So, yeah.
Well, enjoy it while you can, right? Exactly. So, but obviously, Heiðar, you talked about like, we used to fly to the UK a lot for events and stuff like that. But you also flew out to the US this year, I guess, for the LVO, correct? If I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Yeah.
We were probably 6 or 7.
6 or 7, yeah.
Oh, well, so 6 or 7.
6 or 6.
Yeah.
4 and 2, yeah. 6 people, yeah.
When was it you guys' first time going to the LVO?
Yes.
First for me at least, but I think some of them had gone before.
Yeah, Christian Blöndal had went before, and also John King. But I have been to Jokull Open before COVID. That is the 2 tournaments I have been to the USA.
Yeah, wow. So how did you find the differences in terms of playing at the LVO and like the US-based terrain stuff compared to what you normally play at with the UK TC and stuff like that?
me
So
or you,
yeah, we played. I think none of us lost to a US-based player. Maybe before the last round. I think that's how it was. Like, I lost to a guy on the French WTC team. He didn't lose the game at all. But that's like, Heiðar was number 1 before the last round at LVO. That's how it is. But I mean, we did both lose to US-based people in the last round. But we won't talk about that.
Yeah, when we posted in the Best in Tabletop Discord about asking for questions, Anthony Vanilla just jumps in with my boys. He didn't have a question, but he was very excited.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I was after five rounds LVO. I was first place, met Anthony Vanilla, and I lost. It was. But he deserved the win, definitely. But yeah, it was nice.
He only had good things to say about you, even like back then, Heiðar. So yeah, you definitely made a good impression.
Sweet.
Yeah.
We actually.
What a joke, though.
Now I remember we met at the LVO, and then the WTC came, and Iceland USA was competing, and then it ended me against Anthony Vanilla. And he was so happy, and I was so happy. But hey, buddy, nice to get a game. I know the person; it's gonna be great. But yeah, it was fully competitive on the table, fully friends on the table. He's a great guy. Yeah, I like it.
Well,
yeah.
Were you playing the Custodies again at LVO or something else? Oh no, LVO. Sorry, WTC. Yeah, that one.
WTC. No, I lent my buddy almost the same custody list, and I was playing Tyranids.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, sweet. So I guess we'll...
Yeah.
You got
Did you get him in the mirror?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Full mirror
Oh,
with
did you get the win though?
That is another thing.
Oh, okay. We don't talk about that.
Yeah, I'm gonna travel a lot more to the USA now to get that win against Australia. It's gonna come next time, buddy.
Yeah.
For those who don't know Heiðar, honestly, like I think there's barely. I think he's probably top 5 in the world in terms of game knowledge 40K. Like he listens to every podcast, all the data. He knows all the rule interactions. Like you just go and ask him, and he knows it. And he's playing someone, and he is telling them how the rules for their army works and leading them through how. Obviously, he wins the game. That's a big part of it as well. But he has an insane workload, and I think if his workload is going to be reduced a little bit, he will be the world champion. Make a this in 5 years. That's how it is.
I'm a gardener, and I usually work way too much, but I usually work alone. So I usually have my headset on for like 15 to 20 hours a day on my head, playing everything on double speed. So I catch every single thing that is said about Warhammer, but games are a bit left behind.
That's crazy.
But yeah.
But so okay, so you've got the Airbnb guy. You're the rules guy for Team Iceland. Does everyone just have their designated role that they'll knock out of the park?
Interaction, yeah. If there's an interaction, I just that's how it is.
Yeah.
Fantastic. We just need the army guy, the guy who has all the armies, right?
That's him as well. That's him as
well. Yeah.
I thought that was your game store that they have.
There's a reason I closed all the cabinets before the interview started.
Overflowing with stuff. Oh, fantastic. So we talked about it previously before. So you guys went to obviously the WTC this year, and from what I understand, it was the first time in actually like 6, 7, 8 years that you guys went to an ETC.
I think they went the CCP plus a couple of guys went as Team Iceland 2013, 2014.
Yeah, sweet. But like it's like the first time like the proper like Team Iceland went to a team tournament event. And how did you guys find it heading into the event? So was you said I think it was a couple of people at repeat, so who went back in 2013, 14 played, but for the most part it's all fresh faces. So how was the prep and lead up for the WTC, and how did you find preparing for like obviously a big teams event and using a new terrain set and the whole 8v8 pairing stuff? Like how did you find it?
So it was very interesting. Just we had so many people going to events, and last year 2019 we hadn't really got up to that point. It was going on, but it was just short notice, and we didn't get things together. And now we had gone to all of these events and had some placings and got some consistency going, and so we had 6 people that had been going to a ton of events that were very dedicated, and then we had essentially one person who was always playing the 6 people in Iceland and doing pretty good against us. So we felt he was definitely up there. And then we had a new guy who had been extremely dedicated. I remember I played him at his first event, and what he said to me was, what could I have done differently? How can I improve my army list? Was this good? Was this good? Was this good? Like, can we play another game? I want to play someone who's better than me. I want to lose. I want to learn. I want to become better. And he improved immensely in 2 years. And he was just a great addition to the team. So Heiðar has one WTC set. It's the only one in Iceland. So we had become a little bit familiar with it. It got ramping a bit in the summer, the preparation, but it kind of mostly came together. We knew that there were going to be rule changes. We knew we had to mix things up. We had to mix it a lot up, actually. Like, I was remaining Towse, and my army list increased by 460 points and lost both of its secondaries. So I was in some trouble, but things got together in the end, for sure.
Yeah, fantastic. And so was this your first WTC, ETC experience, Heiðar? Oh, mute.
Yeah, sorry.
You're all good.
My first.
WTC, like WTC,
Yeah,
this is your
yeah.
first 88 teams tournament for that?
Yeah.
How did you find the experience overall? Did you love it?
I definitely loved the whole tournament as a tournament. The organization, the Tom, Isaac, and Neil. If someone else is part of the inner crew I don't know about, I'm so sorry for not mentioning them, but they have done an extraordinary job. And some people that I will not name here have been complaining like month behind, complaining about things, and I find that. But I hate it. So complain ahead of time, not ahead of time. But yeah, they have been doing a great job, and the tournament as a whole was great. All of the matches were great. All of the people were great that I met, and our performance was lackluster. I would say my part, probably most of all, being the captain and being underprepared. So, first time, going better next time.
When you say underprepared, was it like, was it anything specific? Like, did you have matchups or not used to the terrain, lists, or a mix of everything?
It was a good thing to point out. Yeah, a good example would be when we played Ireland. Came to a table, the pairing table, and they had a big big book with all the missions, everything for that, all the tables for that mission, printed out on the table. They had all our lists printed out. They had notes about all our lists on the table, ready to go. And they had no reason at all to play us more than any other team at the tournament. They just did it for all the teams. That is something we did not do as well as we could have. And what I believe is our biggest fuck up for this tournament was the terrain maps. There's a different terrain from table 1 to 8.
Yeah.
And we definitely underestimated how important fact that is, that the terrain map that your defender chooses is actually more important than the army itself.
Yeah. Definitely understanding like the different maps and terrain, because like some of the maps, like they look okay, but then they lie to you. Like when you play on it, it's like, oh, this actually is this is a bit more open, and depending on the mission and stuff like that, it does take a lot of getting used to for sure. So
and I definitely feel that you see the map on PDF on your phone or your computer. You're looking at it. I mean, you see it. It's a lot of terrain. Then you put it on a table where you're used to playing games and doing stuff. And then it goes from being a lot of terrain to being so much terrain at so strange angles, and you need to prepare more for the terrain maps than you prepare for enemy armies.
Yeah. I think contributing to this is we had Nephilim changes, and we had player mix-up right before the event. So we had our Eldar player not being able to attend. I took Eldar. Heiðar took my Tyranid army. Michael took Heiðar's Chaos Knight army. And we had our coach Mitch come in last minute to save us with Sisters. Shout out to Mitch and the Sisters Act podcast he hosts.
Look, you smashed it already. That's how funny enough how we heard about you guys. So obviously Mitch Beard of Sister Act fame, he posted how he's going to be coaching for Team Iceland, and then some way along the way he somehow finagled his way onto the team. So
I was a happy phone call telling him that he was happy about that, understandably. But so we had a lot of people having to take armies that were let's say with short notice, and people had varied work schedules, and thankfully some of us had. I mean, Mitch knows Sisters in and out, and Chaos Knights are fairly straightforward, but Tyranids and Eldar are not, and that's how it is. And But I think in terms of the terrain, so there's a roll-off in the beginning, but who is the kind of attacker and the defender of the whole set. And the one who wins the roll-off gets to pick 5 of the 8 maps in the matchup. So we prioritized this army versus this army over this map. I'll play whatever, because many we felt, I was involved in the pairing, we felt that going Necron first defender or Sisters first defender was not necessarily always the best, because people will prepare for Necrons and Sisters first defender. So we had some ideas with Chaos Knights and Eldar that we fun to talk about. But so I guess if you roll, and if you have 5 people having the team picking the table against you, people felt in the team that, I got this bad table. Maybe this was not a table we picked. But if you have 5 tables being picked against you, it is a big deterrent throughout, obviously. But you have to try to get important tables early, I guess.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of getting used to. So I feel for everyone, like, first time attending WTC, it's a big ask and like just completely different than learning out how the tables and stuff match up. Like, it's one thing getting the army versus army, but like terrain and the missions, like, it's a whole kerfuffle. But it takes time, right, and experience, and you guys will definitely get there. I mean, it'll be fantastic.
Part of it that we did, I think one of the things that worked for us at this event was our first defender strategy. So we did not take defensive lists at all. We took a very aggressive Eldar list and a very aggressive Chaos Knight list, generally as first defender, to pick the correct maps for us. And that really caught a lot of teams off guard. Those were our top 2 scoring lists throughout the event. But obviously, if you get the pick in the beginning, you're facing harder tables in the end, and maybe some harder matchups, and so it balances out.
Yeah, fantastic. So you obviously talked about that. So you had Mitch Beard on the team, and like for everyone who doesn't know, Mitch Beard doesn't really live in Iceland, as far as I'm aware. So he lives in the UK. But like, so how'd you guys get to know him? Was it just Heiðar listening to all the Sister Act podcasts? Like, I want this guy.
No. So when I got back from esports, I went to Nexus to a local RTT, and I played Mitch Beard. First game. That's how it is.
I'm not 100% sure on the story, but his wife was finishing a master here in Iceland for at least 18 months, if not 2 years. So the family was here, and he was a big part of our communities for all that time, and became part of the community. So he is almost fully adopted into Icelandic tournament circuit.
Yeah, fantastic. So I think he lived there for like 3 years. So I'm pretty sure, like 2-3 years, but lived there for a while. So that's why how you guys get to know him. Is he actually a true Sisters faithful? Did he actually play Sisters, or behind the scenes was he a sneaky little?
He was back in those days. Sisters had, what was it? It was like they still had their 5th edition codex or something in 7th or 8th edition. It was, all the models were metal, and it was a pain in the ass, and he just came there with all his metal models and put it on the table, and people, it was a sight to see. But he has always been a faithful Sisters player.
Just slams down
against me,
slams down an entire army of lead, rocks the table, breaks off the train. We're like, all right, let's do this.
Yes.
Oh, fantastic. But I also heard, like, so leading up to the event, you guys also reached out to some other people. So a little birdie told me, so Tim Penny of a Florida Man 40K, you guys talked to him about some Chaos Knight stuff and all that jazz. Was that because of your... Yeah, so did you guys, is that because Heiðar just consumed all the content, just went, just knew who that
It was actually a funny phone call. Mitch put us off with him, and me, Mitch, and Jokull went on a phone call, and I think I ended alone with him, but we had a list, and he had a list, and we had no interaction whatsoever. We had the exact same models in the list: Rampager, 6 Stalkers, and 5 Carnivores. The only difference was, and we could not agree on, was he had another chapter than us. That was, we were with exact same models at all at a separate corner, but not the same chapter. We could not get it. Yeah, we could not agree on the chapter, really. But
You guys were on. You guys were on the Herpatrax band, right? And then he had the counters.
He had the one that doubles your wound. You count as double wounds for the bracket thing.
Yeah.
Herpatrax, for those who don't know, is 2 wounds extra on the amateurs and 4 wounds extra on the knights.
Yeah,
and a lot of wounds.
What is the biggest part really for me is the double wounds bracket thing is the not iconoclast. So you can sacrifice wounds to roll on the table, and that is. But iconoclast gives you extra AP and extra attack on the charts. So.
No, the double wounds one was iconoclast still as well.
No,
it's just like
doesn't matter. Don't worry about it. Yeah. Did you guys talk to anyone else about like leading up to the event? So obviously you did some prep work, getting Mitch Beer and talking to Tim Penny. Did you guys reach out to anyone else to try and get information from, or rely on like other sources of information?
So I play at LVO. I was going for Best in Faction 1000 Suns, and the guy that got Best in Faction for 1000 Suns is on Team Spain, who is a frequent practice partner of mine called Terrox, and played him a lot, and I've learned a lot about 1000 Suns from him, playing against him. I haven't played 1000 Suns a ton since Nephilim. They had some Contemptor is more expensive, and there's some things, but they got better just now with the point nerf. That's just really nice. Thinking of other things though, I mean, we have, not that I can think of, no, on other lists. I mean, we have had a lot of just our lists being played, and I think many of the lists are just lists that Heiðar and I have played recently at tournaments.
Yeah, that's sweet.
I feel like we've been.
That's all right. You're all good.
Sorry about that. Just as I was talking. Yeah, I think we are starting to build connections now after WTC. Like a lot of great people at WTC, and also usually just in the Warhammer community as a whole. And yeah, we're definitely already starting making connections. And I'm definitely on the opinion that two adversaries helping each other getting better, even if they are helping each other getting better. So maybe I'm not leapfrogging my adversary, but I'm leapfrogging everyone else with him, and then I can find another adversary. So with helping other helps you also. Definitely go all out there and helping other people. That will help you also, and in the end you get most of it.
Yeah, like the whole rising tide lifts all ships thing. Like for you.
Definitely, Yes. I mean, people are just looking to get better, and I think there's great camaraderie at WTC overall. You know, people were so friendly and sharing all kinds of information, and it's just a great weekend. Also, just for fun, just going to the event, playing in the singles, even if you're not on a team, hang out with the guys. It's just a great weekend.
Yeah, that's what the WTC is for. Like meeting new people, making friends for life, and having a grand old time. So, but yeah, like as you said, like a rising tide lifts all ships, and like being able to interact and stuff like that. You just test your theory, right, and like try things out. I mean, if Poland and Canada and like US, like they can do the international scrims and stuff like that, it must be good for everyone. Like if they're doing it, then why wouldn't you guys be doing it? So, makes a lot of sense. And I guess any plans in the future to try and set up some more international scrims and get games against other teams and practice more and more leading up to next WTC?
We got one practice match before WTC. We played Team Spain and had a decent result. We had one of our guys drop out right before again, but those of us who were not dropping out had a positive score. That's how it is. But we got invited to a team tournament we're thinking about going to next year.
Yeah, Netherlands has invited us to an think it's like it's like an 8-country tournament in Netherlands, and 8 people also, like a real practice for it.
Yeah. So like 8 countries bringing 8 teams of 8.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic! Well, so looking forward to seeing you guys how you guys go there. So, one of the questions we did have though is we got to name and shame some people, right? I mean, pronouncing Icelandic names is a bit hard, but like, so who was the best and worst country at pronouncing names at WTC? Like, obviously, we myself and Towse have struggled a little bit this morning trying to get the understanding of Icelandic names, but who are the best and worst countries? It's all right. Feel free to name and shame. Or was everyone all right?
So, I think a part of it, what we did, we got great outfits for the team, even like pants and caps and what you want. And we had the names on the back. So when people are like, oh, my name is this, what's your name? We just turn and point to the back and like, oh, okay. And then it was kind of you from now on. That was my strategy at least. But I don't know. We had some teams that just had varied levels of English, so that also made it more complicated. But yeah, that's how it is.
Yeah, definitely. People usually ask me, how do you pronounce your name? And I say it like 10 times. Well, they try 10 times. And I'm like, just say you or something. I don't care. Nobody gets it. So everyone is bad at it.
I loved your story behind the scenes at the start, Heiðar, of just rocking up to the table and not saying anything about your name, just waiting for them to have a guess or an attempt. The power move.
Yes. I loved it. Actually, at one point in a time, we had like, after LBO, we had a RTT on Saturday and Sunday at my house and another tournament the week after. So we had 4 out of the 5 top spots at the ITC circuit at that time. And I just remember, I still have it saved somewhere, when Reese and Rubio were going over the top 5. And Reese is opening up the screen, and then he sees some names, but his eyes go leave his body. And he is like, Heiðar, Hilmar, and Austen, yeah. I still love seeing that.
It's like the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire or whatever the game show was, where someone needs to try and pronounce the Icelandic volcano and they're just freaking out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like I have to say though, like the weekend, there's so much going on. I was doing pairings and playing an army that just you need to spend all of your time. I played 11 games. I think 9 of them went to time. That's how it is. Like I could not tell you the name of a single person I played, like throughout.
Yeah.
Like, even the Americans, I'm not 100% sure of, because a lot of them have names starting B. I'm not sure which American person starting B I did play. I'm not 100%.
It's amazing how much brain power goes there, but it's crazy. And also, every time you're playing, I mean, at the point game on the last day was way below the middle, but still every single player was above and beyond. And I saw some question the other day, is WTC comparable to LVO? And it was one of the most laughable questions I've ever heard in Warhammer. WTC is like 4, 5, 6 leagues above LVO, and the Jokull, it's just not comparable.
Yeah.
Every game's a hard game. Like, there's no easy games at WTC at all.
Yeah, I mean, when I was at Jokull, I was 4-1 at Jokull playing. Yeah, 4-1 at Jokull playing my 6th game, and I was teaching my opponent how his army worked, because he was playing it for something like 10 or 20th time. And no, your gun on your knight is not this and this, it's that. But how are you playing at this level at the tournament? Oh yeah, we are in the USA right now. That's why.
Man, just throwing shade.
Soft meta USA, right?
No, I mean, no, they definitely USA definitely have great players. I'm not saying that. USA definitely have great players and definitely have some of the best players. It's not that. It's more like USA have like 10 great players, and then every single country in Europe has 10 great players. But what comes after the 10 great players in USA, and what comes after the 3 okay players in USA? That's
Yeah, and all 10 great players are out of war, baby. Too funny. So before we head off, guys, so did you guys have any final shout-outs or like events you wanted to plug in advance? So obviously, Jokull, you got your event in October with the GT. Is there anything on the horizon you guys want to plug or shout out?
So yeah, the event is called the Icehammer GT. You can find it on Facebook. Definitely just reach out to us or comment there or anything. If you want to come to Iceland and play some 40K and hang out for a great weekend. We're planning on doing more next year, doing both a GT in the spring and in the autumn, all called Icehammer GT. That'll be the name of it. We're launching a website as well. That'll be linked there. So if you can add that to the notes of the show or something. Yeah,
no worries at all. I'll tuck it in the description down below for anyone who's interested. Heiðar, any shout out to final plugs?
No, not really. I think, we've got the shout outs for the GTs, and I think that's about it. Yeah,
fantastic. And we did have actually, funny enough, so one question for Anthony Vanella. He asked, so when can he and his partner come out to Iceland and play you guys? I guess it's Icehammer GT, right?
Or it's October, 1 month. Yeah, we'll show around.
Yeah,
that goes.
Yeah, Anthony is invited anytime he wants. He can stay at my place. I have more of Icelandic nose tobacco if he wants to. We will not go into that story anymore. Anthony knows, but yeah, he is. It's just on him to come to Iceland, stay at my place, and come play at the tournaments. It's in his hands now.
Beautiful. Happy days. Well, thank you so much for your time. Really, really appreciate it, guys. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your ITC season. Looking forward to see you guys next year, hopefully.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, everyone. Have a good one. And we're back. Thank you very much to Heiðar and Jokull from Team Iceland for that interview. It was great. I mean, 8 hours for an RTT, Mr. Towse. Imagine traveling 8 hours for an RTT. What absolute savages.
Yeah.
That is keen.
Yeah, and they are... Oh, man, those guys are characters. But, yeah, real great.
Absolute lads.
Yeah. It's cool that the scene's gone pretty strong over there. And they've got, like, tight-knit community, going places together. Yeah.
Yeah, happy days. But Mr. Towse, we're not here to talk about Team Iceland that much. We're here to talk to you about Uni Games. So
yeah, apparently
first ever event.
We just put it in 3 times in the show because apparently I didn't read enough. Yeah. So what do we talk about? Like, do we want to do a bit of a thing and like how it went just running an event for the first time, or what do we? Because in terms of like,
I think it'd be great for you to just talk about. You don't have to really talk about before because we've kind of done the build up through the show, right? So like people have seen that kind of. What was it like on the day? Like how did you feel when you got up and you were putting everything together? Did you get much help or anything like that from any of the lads?
Yeah, so I had a couple of guys. There's a group chat with a few of us at uni that are playing, and so I had a couple of them come along. Alec, who earned himself the dunce cap for multiple failings, let us know that that start time was possibly a little early for him, but I can respect that. So yeah, had a couple of people come along to help. So I managed to fit 11 tables and terrain all on the back of in a single car trip, in just like a station wagon. Yeah. Like 1 and a bit Tyler Bortel old.
And boards as well.
Yeah, boards.
That's solid.
Yeah,
that is that is mint. I'm impressed.
Yeah. I was calling it the Carty T, which made me quite happy. So yeah, did that, unloaded it in. So we got there at like 7:15, 7:30, something like that, and it was an 8 o'clock start, and that worked out all right for timing. So yeah, had basically everyone show up. So this is first time I was using BCP, and the first time a whole bunch of people were doing it as well. So learning a whole bunch of things. People needed to work out that BCP doesn't work well if you try and use the web site on their phone. Get the app and it's much better. So there was a bit of manually checking in for people and submitting scores, but that was pretty manageable for a 22 player event. So like it got to 8:30, I went through, it was like, oh, there's one person not checked in, I wonder where they are. I go to give them a messenger call and find out that they were like just coming in the door then. So that ran smoothly. Had enough. I had the foresight to bring a bunch of 40 mil bases because, of course, people aren't going to have objective markers. So had enough for them to go around after just like grabbing all the ones that I could see quickly before going to sleep. Yeah, so that there was a projector in the room, which was really helpful. I just put up like the Wahapedia page of whatever mission we were playing plus a timer, which really helpful for just being clear. Sort of was doing laps. Going like, how are we doing? What turn is it? Any questions? All that stuff, which was pretty relaxed. People kept on time more or less. There was like one game that ended up being slow because it was like Thousand Suns versus Levy Nids. And so from like bottom of one, they were doing every single phase, like movement, psychic, shooting, fight, repeat for the next player turn, and so on. So that was like a grind for them. But otherwise, there were like some games that were about on time, but fine. Prize giving went well. People were happy. Things were well received. There were, towards the end of the third round, there were two people that were like competing for the wooden spoon. They were trying to like throw like, oh no, go off for these. It was like the throwback to Manny Chima, like running off objectives. But they were doing it to try and compete for the spoon, or like doing that. I think like charging into their opponent to try sack things. They're like, oh, it's sticky objectives. You still hold that, haha. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Submarine for the real submarine.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy yourself, mate?
I did. Yeah, it was cool. I it was just the right level of tired to just be chilling out, not too. I was not, I guess, present enough to be bored, but was coherent enough to be able to run the thing. Yeah, and it was cool, just wandering around, seeing things be successful. Afterwards, there was a fair bit of chat saying that, yeah, it was really good. Mates saying, yeah, so not wanting to bump his ego up too much, but this guy ran a pretty alright event, and I think the New Zealand Masters is looking to be held down here, and there were some people saying that like we should organise to get this terrain. I'm not involved with the organising of that. That's Gary. But yeah, so that happened. I have booked the room for another one on the 5th, 6th, or 7th of November. It's the first Sunday of November. Maybe it's the second Sunday if it's the 7th. Anyway, first weekend of November, full weekend. It's in there. I tried to go for a 2-day event, but either of the two rooms at uni I would like to use are never free for a full weekend for the rest of the year. So yes, that's not happening.
Nice,
you guys got any more questions?
Yeah, so obviously first time event running, something's going to go wrong. There's always something that goes wrong. What in hindsight do you think you should have done better, or you wish you learned from your experience?
As remarkable as it sounds, I don't actually think anything went wrong. I was thinking something probably would, but it was fine. Like payment came in, there was people found the location, set up, pack down was chill. Genuinely the biggest complaint any people had were, oh yeah, can we please print score sheets? And I was like, yep, that was on the list of things to do, but we didn't get there. Whoops. Sure. I knew that's something I would like to do. I think the biggest screw up for the event was there were 2 different food deliveries, like through Uber Eats or and stuff like that, where there was no cutlery with the order. So partway through, I like ran across campus to my office to try like scavenge some cutlery for myself and others to use.
Nice.
But yeah, like genuinely, that might have been the biggest issue of the event, which is great. Yeah,
fantastic.
You got anything else, Ben? Anything to add as a veteran TO? Did I make you proud, buddy?
I wouldn't say I was a veteran, but you said, as long as you enjoyed yourself, I think that's the main thing. If you didn't enjoy yourself, then I don't think it's ever going to be something you're going to want to do or get better at, you know? So
yeah, well,
it's pretty fun.
I mean,
it's pretty fun.
Yeah, like realistically, I don't want to be a TO. I just want these events to exist. And I found myself in the situation to be like, well, we can make this happen. And so hopefully in the future it can be like, cool, we've got another one of these. I want to play. Someone else can take turns running it. I've got friends that potentially can be like, right, your turn, run one of these. Here's all the stuff. Just be the person in charge on the day so I can play games. Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah, that's part of the thing. Like, right, like so here locally, that's what I tried to do with the Grim events. Like, I became the TO, the main person to run the events, like get more structure and stuff behind it. But it's a bit of a shame. It's like you miss out on playing events, right? So obviously, also myself, I try and play this buy buster. So if there's an odd number of players, like I'll bring a list where I can play, and so do that. But it's not ideal. Like your opponent on the other side of things is not getting their best game, right? You're not paying full attention to the game, as sad as it is, because you've got to run an event, right? You've got rulings to answer sometimes, and your attention is to other things. So, and you're not playing, obviously, the army. Maybe you really want to play because you're playing a bit easier army, something that you can clock in, clock out pretty easily with. So, yeah, you miss out on playing events, and so that's something we're trying to do, is sort of get like a group of people to sort of TO and like rotate in and out. So I think that's the best way to do it.
Yeah. So like, it's a weird situation, right? Of like, well, I want these events and I want to play in them, but if I make them happen, then I'm not playing. But we've got them happening now at least, and so we'll see what happens from there. Yeah.
And like you've built the terrain, you've got the tables and stuff set up so people can run events and you can loan out the terrain and stuff to them. So between now and November, though, like what are some upgrades you think you want to make with the event so that it can be newer, better, and more improved?
A few things. So I'll hopefully, knock on wood, be a bit more organized. So can have like some score sheets provided. I want to make like for each mission have like printouts of there's this table, or like I had 4 different layouts, for example, 4 like terrain layouts. And so have like a bird's eye view printout type thing, like you have with the mission packs, but also it's got all the terrain pieces shown on there as well, which is reasonably simple for me to do. It just took like a few minutes that I didn't have. So that put a bit of a write up to be like, these are the ruins. They have these keywords. This means these things. I've got some features on there to be like, you can clip this corner because it's less than an inch high. It's got these markers for inch off the wall. These events, they are dense and light cover. They are not difficult ground. Heard from someone today that people were playing that wrong. That's expected. Whoopsies. I'm not bothered, but feel free to slow yourself down arbitrarily. The forest people are pretty good with just run over. These are crates. This is how they work. Blah 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 blah. So that in terms of like providing nice things, I might look to. I've got a thing so I can run my ruins as like GW style ruins, possibly that. If I get really onto it, I want to try and design either some Towse or like some Eldari looking ruins, because like you guys have probably noticed this, right? Every ruined building in the 40k universe is an imperial ruin, right? Like they're human buildings looking like things, right? And I've seen some people have got like some really nice looking Eldari MDF terrain, but it's rubbish for functionality. So try to do something on that if I get real motivated. I've designed like some bigger line of sight blocking, like they don't have windows sort of things that are slightly larger. So maybe you can have like one of them per table is like, here's you can hide in your deployment zone and everything can sit here and definitely be safe. Because there were at least 2 Mortarians and some comments of like, oh, terrain's great, but oh no, can't hide the big dude. So things that I might consider adding.
Yeah, wow. So there's a little bit of improvements, but they're all quality of life improvements, right? And things to increase on like an already good event. I know one thing that
exactly.
I noticed, and like I think you yourself, Ben, has done for Down 40K is the uprising to the South Australia boys. They put a sticker in the middle of their mat where it's in the exact center of the table, so that people can easily straight away from the center of the table measure out where the objectives and stuff are. And that's like such a small thing, but such a nice quality of life improvement.
Yeah. See, mine's sort of alright because I've got the two. My boards are in two halves, and they like dovetail together because and so you can effectively work out the middle on that, and there's like notches around the edge for deployment zones. For data scry, there's like on each board there's like an indicator on the edge that shows where the ends of the deployment zone should be. So like you know where those are. You don't need to do that like how far in from the edge and difficult. But yeah, so that's a thing you can do. I also will, when I make these packs, I'll put like here's the top-down view, and do distances from the edge of the table into the objective, because I've got like an actual lip on my tables, so that you can it's like the right size, so you can more easily measure it that way. Yeah, things like that. At some point in the future, I want to get some mats. Probably not for this event, like this next upcoming one, but within the next two, it should be good to buy a set for like the third run. Yeah.
Sounds great. Yeah, fantastic. Looking forward to hearing how event in November goes. And maybe by that time in November, the short men have released the Votan, the leagues of Votan.
Oh, dude.
The leagues of Votan have come out. So the leaks have come out for them, but yeah. So our very own Queen Alex
of Votan.
The leaks of Votan. I make sure to say Votan, not Voltan. I heard some people get very upset about that. So
dwarfs.
Yeah, the dwarfs are out. So our own very own Kerry and Alex did a 5-minute bit about them for the daily bit. So he gave his hot takes or maybe cold takes about them. So, but we'll go around the room. So Benny Way, how do you feel about the leagues of Votan? Your thoughts about the announcement, the models, the release schedule, the rules?
Well, I haven't looked at the rules too much. I was actually quite taken aback by how quickly they leaked. Seeing as we didn't get a demon one for ages and stuff like that. Chaos Space Marine's the same. But I haven't looked in. I've had a few flicks through it, but yeah, that's definitely looking pretty busted, right? There's no two ways around it. The models are growing on me a little bit. I still don't like the bikes; they're a bit bubbly, but I actually really like the big land fortress. I'm actually a fan, and that's a pretty big thing for me because I hate vehicles in 40k generally. Like apart from rhinos, I like sisters vehicles, but most of them I don't like. But I'm actually digging those ones, and I like the little Terminators too. They're cool. I don't know any of the names of them. They're just short, fat dudes, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah,
play a bit like Space Marines.
Have you seen the memes of everything painted like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle theme?
Oh, I love that, mate.
Yeah.
So that's actually what tilted me a little bit into being like, okay, yeah, I actually don't mind them as much because a huge Turtles fan when I was a kid. So I was like, yeah, no, I dig that. But yeah,
who was your favorite turtle?
It's too hard to say. I like them all.
I feel like you're a Mikey kind of guy.
No, he was all right.
Oh.
He was all right.
Okay.
But I liked them all. I changed my mind every day, probably.
Fair enough. Yeah. Yeah. What are your thoughts?
What do you think, Towse?
Hey, dude. I'll be honest. I haven't read the demon rules. I definitely haven't read these rules, dude. That's me. I haven't even looked at all the models. I have not typed Leagues of Votan into Google or something to try find images. I have not looked at the rumor channels of the Discords. I am not the guy to ask on this, dude. You're talking to the man that's Ben's out of there. He's not keen. Yeah, asking the guy who hasn't booked his return flight yet for an event in a week and a bit what he thinks of the leak codex is not the good play.
Always prepared. Always prepared. Well,
Hell yeah,
unlike
dude.
you, Towse, I've read the Codex, and it's gonna be interesting, right? Like, obviously, everyone said it's busted. It seems very, very good, but and like when I initially read it, I think it's very easy to say, "Oh, this is fucked. Like everything's gone. 40 carries ruined." But it's taken a little while. I've taken a step back. It's like it's okay. Everything will fix itself out. Like there may be that little dark period in which the leagues of Votan are very, very good, but it'll work itself out. And so, I guess like maybe a question we also had in chat that sort of relates to this. So from Tim the Sorcerer is, as TOs, how broken does a faction have to be before you would consider soft banning it until an FAQ/data slate pulls it back into line? Or would you just never intervene in that way? I can go start first. So I know obviously, so Rob the Honest Wargamer, so he often has a sort of stance that no FAQ, no play, which is a stance to take. And I understand also with the WTC, that's what the stance I took for Chaos Space Marines is no FAQ, no play per se. But in terms of like how broken does a faction need to be, I don't, unless the game is completely broken or like it's just irrespectable and like nothing will get fixed. So I know I'm going to get it wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's a game in Street Fighter. There's an unlockable character or some sort of character which is beyond uber broken, like 75%, 80% win rate. It's talked about in the Playing to Win by David Serlin, and basically they've made a self-ban against that sort of thing because it's something that's never going to be fixed. It's in the game forever. It's just detrimental to the game. It causes such a negative impact. That's why they soft-ban it. And I know in Poland, funnily enough, so when Drukhari and Admech were at the Menace, they internally said soft ban to Admech and Drukhari, like, no, you can't run with them. Or they had like some comp system. So I think they ran 1,700 points for each of those factions as a soft ban. But
I hear Jonathan Slay Johnson did that in Sweden with Harleys back at their peak, just as the data slate came out, and he submits his list for an event that's not using a data slate and wins it with like 1,860 points of Harlequins that then were going to go up to 2,000 points. But yeah, Sam, you muted.
What a chat.
Yeah.
I mean, but yeah, so like, how bad does the faction have to be? It has to be pretty bad, and there has to be like no like foresight about when things will be pulled back into line. I don't think I would ever soft ban a faction. It would have to be pretty dire to be a soft ban. And how would I intervene in any way? Probably not, but maybe there'll be like, if there's some questionable things where some egregious stuff being used in terms of the rules that like maybe can be answered by an FAQ, then sure, I would answer that. So if it's going to be led to abuse. So yeah, what about you, Benny, as a obviously long time TO? Would you ever consider soft banning or putting a faction into line which is performing way too well?
Well, so I've talked to the boys that I, like the TO group I have, like the boys are down 40k a few times. And look, there's been times where it's almost felt like we probably could have done it. But there's always felt like there would be something coming. I'd like to comment on the Honest Wargamer with his no FAQ, no play, which I think was a valid thing to uphold in 8th edition, but I don't think works in 9th edition at all. Because the FAQs are like, can be anything up to 6 weeks after a publication comes out. And I think that's too long, especially when the rest of the world doesn't do it. I think like my problem with ruling that kind of stuff, unless things got, like you hear the horror stories back in the old days where the books just went on, you only ever got one book every 8 years,
Oh, yeah.
And like the edition and stuff like that. Like I understand that.
Not even getting a book every edition.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like if you start ruling stuff like that, then kind of where does it end? Like I think if it's, I don't know if we've hit the heights yet. I think when you look at the squat book that we might hit that heights, but then Tunids were pretty bad at one point, right? Too, and Tau and Custos and Drukhari and Admech. So like it's hard to, like, I probably wouldn't I would be it'd have to be my last resort, because I feel like when you start making rulings to actually, if like you're making custom rulings to affect power level, to affect the game, like where does that kind of, when you open those floodgates, where does it end? Like, do you end up just running around putting out spot fires everywhere and micromanaging? It's very much like if you are going to start ruling by intent and not by written, like you start you can really overstep a little bit, like I think, and you think you've got to be careful. But yeah, look, it is worrying about this book coming out because it does look like pretty busted. I can't lie to you. And the amount of people who are keen for it is just absolutely blowing my mind as well. So this is going to come in and break the game. So it could be a thing, right? But like we've done it before. We've had common enemies before, the meta. The people who are just busting it. So
just take more chainswords, defeat the Drukhari menace.
Yeah.
I've
just
I got
table
a few thoughts on. Yeah, right. I got a few thoughts on a bunch of the different things. Like, so I guess comedic thought first is it's fine. This is one of the advantages of being down under is that GW supply chain's got your back. Because no one can get anything for like a month or two after release. There's probably going to be an FAQ, relatively speaking, sooner for us than anyone else because no one's going to have the models.
I do think as well, though, Towse, I would love to just interrupt 1 second. That the problem that I'm worried about is I'm already as a TO getting questions about like the 3D prints and like the release schedule and like tournaments that like I'm running a teams tournament at the end of October, like towards the end of October, and I'm already getting questions asking about squat codex and stuff like that, and and it's just a bit, which I've kind of ruled upon anyway, I think, but it's already getting wild. The questions are like, because the 3D printed is like that becomes a real thing over here because of the gap between models, and it can cause some issues, and it's very much like not all TOs are on board, not all TOs, some TOs are fine with it. It's all over the shop at the moment. I'm sure it'll settle down in the next couple of weeks, but yeah.
This is asking for like neon green Caladius 3D print photos circulating the internet to come up. Yeah, that's fair. In terms of like the no FAQ, no play, I think that's stupid because like to take it to a bit of an extreme, right? If everyone adopted the no FAQ, no play philosophy, then how the hell is GW to write their FAQs? Because if no one's playing with them because there's no FAQ, then they're not going to get data to make their FAQs. So that's like, I think that's dumb. Or like, I think that's just kicking the can down the road, sort of not a great plan.
I agree.
I guess segueing on from there for a bit, so this doesn't help with the things being busted, but if there's wonky interactions, I guess I would try. I wouldn't be as worried trying to be like, cool, I'm going to rule this way because I think this is as best as possible a reasonable interaction. Like for some examples, I thought with a buddy that like Reaper of Obliterax, it was not sure whether or not the mortal wounds you could take a field no pain against because like the denying it. And so when we were playing it without knowledge, we're just like 50-50 it, and we'll see what we're playing with for the game, right? But then other stuff like the brutal but cunning interaction with the like orc shenanigans and stuff, with the squig jaws and stuff. I was basically how I would have ruled that, and I think Imperial Knights have sort of set a precedent for this now, is if you make squig jaw attacks, say, then if those don't reach the inflict damage step, then you make more squig jaw attacks, even though it says you can only do a max. And if they do mortal wounds, that counts as doing damage, and yada yada, right? Like some things like that, where it's like, cool, your rules get to work, but we'll try not to do like nonsense edge case stuff, and try and put that up early. That's like how I would go about doing things.
It's a hard one. Like there's not going to be a perfect answer, and I can see the benefit of like when you're protecting some players, maybe for soft banning some things which are too hard, or like FAQing some stuff. But it comes down to the TO, and I think consecutively we don't think it's bad. It's probably better to allow the things to happen, like knowing that things are going to get fixed in the future, because we've got the quarterly data slates, which will be coming out. And then there's always the 6-month point slates, and there's FAQs coming out. And there's tournament bodies, which will rule on things like the WTC or FLG, whatever. Even local TOs will have groups that have community consensus FAQs for things. So yeah, I don't think we should be soft banning, but look, each to their own, right? Each to their own. So
I mean,
yeah.
G-Dub's also put out like pretty quick patches of like, oh, whoops, we goofed over here. Here's a thing real quick. I mean, like Custodes had points updates published. Was it before they even had their
the day of?
Yeah,
day of,
right. So they've done day of buffs for factions that ended up being too strong anyway. And then they've went backwards on things. No, I don't think they went back on the points. But anyway, right? They've done day of buffs. So like, I wouldn't be surprised if they just said, "Hey, we goofed. The codex leaked and people have done stuff. Here's a day of nerf," or like pretty quickly afterwards. Like that could happen. Could also not. But like, G-Dub is trying to improve their act, right? I think the track record's shown that they're at least putting in an effort. They get stuff wrong, which, yeah, but I'm more, I guess, permissive of that than the average player, because they like the comp scene's not like where all their money is, for example, right? So in a way, cool, they're making new models, we get new rules. Whoops, they're too busted, but they'll work on fixing it, and so yeah.
We'll see what happens. So, last question to end the show. We have from Tim the Sorcerer again. So, mainly for you, Benny, what's the biggest cluster fluff that has happened to you as a TO?
Look, I don't know how comfortable. You know what? I think like Sam knows what I'm going to say because he was there. But
maybe
I'm going to say Australia and New Zealand Team Championships 2022 was definitely something. So
I was like,
yeah.
What? We haven't had one of those. The New Zealand part confused me, Ben.
No, you guys couldn't get out of the country. But it was definitely a thing. We had some bad maths happen on that day. But yeah, look, I'm not gonna go elaborate on it too much. But that was definitely probably. But yeah, that was definitely a thing. Like that was definitely. I had to. I really had to get my judge on that weekend. But yeah, it was good. It was all resolved. It was all sorted. So it was good. But yeah, like I think that you will always come across something as a TO where you have to make a big call on something. And I think and that even goes all the way down to RTTs. And I think that that echoes even what like Towse was saying about and you guys were saying about soft ruling stuff. And I think like there's two things that any advice I could give to a new TO or someone who's like at least communicating with a TO about something. The TO has to make a decision at some point. So the TO has to make a decision. And I think I think like something that WTC FAQ has taught us that having answers and having decisions made, although they might not be the correct ones or ones that you personally agree, like they're not your interpretation, any decision and a solid decision is better than zero decision. So those things have to be done. And then the other thing I would say, the other advice I would have as well would be like to make sure that you feel like if you think you've got it wrong, like if you think you've got it wrong and you've made a ruling on a build up or something, and then you go away and you do more research, or like even if or so any situation, I think it's always like important to perhaps like if there's time and the time affords it in the event, like just say it's before list submission, you can say to that person, look, I think I got that wrong, and I think that's fine. I think that's really important as well. And that's not like there's nothing wrong with admitting that you might have got something wrong as well, because I think it's like it's all you're just human at the end of the day. And I think it's just important we try and play similarly to everywhere else, and use all the resources at our fingertips to get all the information we can, because there's always plenty of people you can ask about stuff. Plenty of places to find out.
Like just having defined goalposts is great, even if they're like weird goalposts that are like 4 vertical sticks and no crossbar and it's called Aussie rules or something. But it's at least at least there's goalposts to work towards.
Yeah, exactly. And just to touch on there as well, like when you get a ruling though, never argue it. Like you can justify a little bit, say, look, this is my understanding, like show the rules for it, but what the TO's word's final. Like don't get in a screaming match, fighting match. There's no point. Like, the TO's word's almost final. If you want to have like a pleasant conversation afterwards, but do it afterwards. Like, whatever has been said is done. Like, there's no fighting or anything about it. It just causes more harm than it does any good. So just something to note as well. But I think to also answer, I mean, I've had my own cluster fluff. I was actually filling off my second RTT run. So using best coast pairings and like for like the entry stuff, we have like 20 minutes, like from the day someone gets in to when the first round starts, we have 20 minutes. And BCP on the day just crashed itself. The very second time around the event just crashed. And we had just nothing but issues. We couldn't get people signed up. We couldn't get people checked in. People couldn't find the event. It was miserable. And so here I was, like, it's a brand new tier, my second event being run, and people are just going, what the hell is going on, and trying to organize it. We're like trying to download some like offline software to get pairings done or doing an Excel spreadsheet, and it was just miserable. In the end, BCP worked itself out like about 20 minutes late. So we started like 20 minutes behind, 20, 30 minutes behind schedule. And then to add on top of it, we were expecting, so we had pre-registration for people to sign up, and we had like 15, 20 people. And so we're like, oh, okay, it's not going to be too bad. We're setting up train the day of. And then literally we had 34, 36 people show up. So we had a bunch more tables to do in. Like, oh.
That's hilarious. That's brilliant.
Oh. And so we were like scrambling, getting train done and getting people sorted. It was just everything all happened at once. So we got there in the end, but like obviously the round one started a bit late, and just it was stressful. Like, we were finding space, and I feel a bit sorry for some of those people there. Those boards were not the best, but that's because we just didn't have the train for them. Like, that's why we started implementing, like, I guess, a bit of more limit cap. And one of my initiatives is always prepare terrain the night before, because you just never know what happens the night before, the day of. You just never know. There's always something that happens. So, anyways, it is what it is. But I learned from that one for sure. So
I sort of followed that. I was preparing, and by preparing I mean still cutting terrain the night before. Well, not quite. It was templates to lay it out.
Too good. Anyways, that's going to be it for episode 13 of 40K Frontiers. So thank you all for joining us.
There's still a couple more things that have been put in the chat. Do we want to quickly do that, or man's moving us on?
Well, if you want to answer those questions, we'll answer in the Discord. So.
All right.
There you go. Happy days. And yeah, if you guys want to highlight any of your remote events, let us know. Post it in the comments below, or just reach out to us, and we'll be sure to highlight them. So thank you again, everyone. Have a wonderful day. Take care.
Bye-bye.
See you, team.
Yeah.